I declare this meeting of Glamorgan Spring Bay Council held on Tuesday the 23rd of September open at 2:03 p.m.
The Glamorgan Spring Bay Council acknowledges the traditional owners of our region and recognising their long continuing connection to land, water and cultures. We pay our respects to elders, past and present.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome councillors and staff to the meeting. Please be advised that this meeting is being audio and visually recorded. I ask that all attendees remain respectful and considerate of others and advise that offensive, defamatory or threatening language or behaviour to those present or listening is not acceptable. Councillors, we have Deputy Mayor Simons, Councillor Walker, Councillor Churchill, Councillor Edwards, Councillor Gregson and Councillor McQueenie and Mayor Arnold in the chamber. Councillor Young has some unexpected personal reasons and he requires a leave of absence. So in accordance with Regulation 41 of the Local Government Meeting Procedure Regulations 2025, as chairperson I hereby request leave of absence for Councillor Robert Young for this meeting of council for unexpected personal reasons. Councillor Walker.
Thank you. I'll move that council grant Councillor Robert Young leave of absence for the meeting of council held on the Tuesday the 23rd of September 2025.
Seconded Councillor Edwards. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? It's carried unanimously. Agenda item 1.1 is attendance and apologies. So attendance in the chamber today, it's my very great pleasure to welcome our Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Greg Torrey. Mr. Torrey commenced with council a couple of weeks ago and this is his first council meeting. So welcome, Mr. Torrey.
Thanks very much, Madam Mayor.
We have Mr. James Bonner, the Acting Director of Planning and Development, and Mr. Peter Porch, the Director of Works and Infrastructure, Executive Officer Mrs. Jasmine Kerr, and Administrative Officer Ms. Isabel Clarkson. Agenda item 1.2 is late reports. I don't believe we have any late reports. Thank you. The declaration of interest in a matter of a councillor is agenda item 1.3. So as Mayor, I request elected members to indicate whether they have any interest personally or via a close associate as defined in section 49 of the Local Government Act, or 2, any conflict as described in the Model Code of Conduct for Councillors in any item included in the agenda. Councillor McQueenie.
Yep. I'd like to declare an interest in 4.1. I live virtually next door to this development and I think it's appropriate that I excuse myself.
Councillor McQueenie has declared an interest in agenda item 4.1.
Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Gregson.
I have received interest in item 8.3, the Swansea Makers Market. It's an unregistered and not-for-profit group who is auspiced by Glamorgan Spring Bay Historical Society, which I'm a member, so I will.
Thank you.
I'll
That's
my
agenda item 1.3. You
no,
said
8.3.
8.3. Sorry. Thank you, Councillor Gregson. Councillor Gregson has declared a perceived conflict in agenda item 8.3. Both councillors will leave the chamber at that time. Agenda item 2.2 is the confirmation of minutes. 2.1 is the ordinary meeting of council, the 26th of August 2025. Councillor Walker.
Thank you. I'll move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on 26th of August 2025 at 2 p.m. be confirmed as a true and correct record.
Councillor Edwards, thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Those unanimously, thank you. Agenda item 2.2 is the date and purpose of workshops held. There is a recommendation on page 7. Councillor McQueenie.
I recommend that council notes the information. Sorry, I move to council notes the information.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Gregson. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Agenda item 3 is public question time. 3.1 questions on notice. I note there are no questions on notice. Agenda item 3.2 is questions without notice. General Manager, do you have any? Councillors, perhaps, and for those people who are watching the telecast today, I should note Mr. Tory is appointed as our Chief Executive Officer, and he and I had a discussion. He is happy for me to refer to him as the General Manager in meetings because Chief Executive Officer is quite a mouthful. So I will either refer to Mr. Tory as the General Manager because, as Council knows, for transparency, and the Office of Chief Executive Officer is the General Manager's office. So, to go back to the original question, Mr. Tory, no, we don't have any questions. Thank you.
No questions.
Thank you very much.
Through the mayor.
I'm sorry?
Just through the mayor, would it be better just to refer to Mr. Tory as CEO?
We could do that too. We could actually do that, Councillor Gregson. So it probably depends what pops in my head at the time.
No.
So agenda item 4 is planning. So under Regulation 29 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures, Regulation 2025, as chairperson, I hereby declare that the council is now acting as a planning authority under the provisions of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 for Section 4 of the agenda. Councillor Walker.
Thank you. I move that council now acts as a planning authority at 2:09 p.m.
209, thank you. Is there a seconder? Deputy Mayor Simons, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Agenda item 4.1 is Agenda item 4.1 is SA 2025/12, 21 residential lots comprising 18 residential lots, a road lot and 2 public footpath lots, 49 Redland Road and West Shelley Road, Orford. There is a recommendation on page 23. I note that Councillor McQueenie has left the chamber in accordance with her declaration of conflict. Deputy Mayor Simons.
I'll move that pursuant to section 57 of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 and the Tasmanian Planning Scheme SA 2025/012 at 49 Raven Road 188095/17, 51 Raven Road 188095/1, Orford, and lots 33287/1, 152580/2, and 182665/100 West Shelley Road, Orford, for a subdivision comprising 18 residential lots, 1 road lot and 2 footpath lots, be approved with the following conditions noted 1 through to 34.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Edwards. Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Reserve for closing.
Reserve for closing. Speaker for the motion? Speaker against the motion?
I'm just going to move a procedural motion here, and I'll read it out. That a decision on DA number SA 2025/012 be moved to the October 2025 OCM, subject to the provision of and the availability of the detailed design report to be undertaken in accordance with the recommended conditions in the draft permit.
Councillor Gregson, I note that you've moved it as a procedural motion. The issue that I have when we're acting as a planning authority is that we have a legislative timeframe that we have to deal with it.
Yes.
I don't believe that we can actually defer a planning matter to a meeting on that basis, Mr.
Just through the mayor, it's on the 30th.
Would you be kind enough to speak up?
Yeah, the decision has to be made by the 30th of September, but it could be negotiated with the developer because we don't have enough detailed information here to make an informed decision.
Mr. Tory, I'm going to defer to Mr. Bonner on this question, if is you're comfortable with that. Mr. Bonner, we would have to negotiate with the developer during the course of this council meeting, wouldn't we? Is that, as I understand it?
Through your Mayor, the statutory date is the 30th of September. The council has to make a decision by.
Yes.
So if we do not make a decision in this meeting, we either have to get an agreement from the developer to ask for an extension, or we'll have another meeting to determine the application. Under the delegated authority provisions, the general manager has delegation to refuse the application if an extension is not granted. However, it's not something that I would propose.
So, Mr. Tory, Mr. Porch or Mr. Bonner, I need some guidance here in relation to, I note though Councillor Gregson hasn't got a seconder for his motion. I'm just trying to work out procedure here, Councillor Gregson. So I've accepted your motion, just trying to work out procedure at the moment in the context of it before I ask for a seconder, because I'm just not sure what the ramifications are under the planning authority. As you are more than well aware, when we're acting as a planning authority, it is a whole different range of processes that we have to abide by in the ordinary, rather than in the ordinary meeting. Mr. Bonner, have you got something to add to that?
Yes, ma'am. My understanding from Councillor Gregson is he's requesting more information in support of the application. We are unable to ask for that information once we've advertised. It's very difficult to ask for additional information. Council really needs to make a decision on whether the information that's been provided is sufficient to make a determination, or in the affirmative, approve, or believe that deficient information and therefore recommendation would be a refusal. We can't ask for more information
From the developer?
from the developer at this point.
If that was to happen, then it would have to go through a whole new a whole new application process and representation process, etc.
That's correct.
As I take it. So, Councillor Gregson.
Yes, it just refers to in the body of works here that this information is going to be provided, but it just isn't time. It's going to be provided, and it always constantly refer to the information that's going to be provided in the future. Well, I'd really like to see this information in the future before I make a decision. So it's in it. I'm not asking for any additional information. I'm asking for that to be brought before council so we can consider this report here, detailed design report.
So, Councillor Gregson, I'm prepared to test your procedural motion on the floor of the chamber to see if you get a seconder.
Can I just refer to what Mr. Tory thinks?
Yes. Ask a question.
Yes. So I'd just like to ask Mr. Tory what would his considered opinion be on this, please?
Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
I'm actually not certain that it's a procedural motion, and maybe disallowed on that basis. I also think that there is a significant risk to council in not making a determination or making a determination in the negative, and risking the application being approved by default and then potentially exposed to appeal costs if it's to overturn.
Councillor Gregson, there's very specific criteria around procedural motions, and as the CEO has identified, I too am not sure that yours meets the procedural motion aspect.
It's just that I'm just proposing to move the date of the decision.
If I just refer to Mr. Tory, I think have you got procedural motions there, Mr. Tory? You have, haven't you?
Procedural motions. Following motions or the negatives are procedural motions. That the motion be put, that the matter be deferred, that the matter of the motion be referred to a committee, that the meeting be now adjourned, that the meeting be a closed meeting.
So Councillor Gregson is actually working on the basis of Part B of that. I think that
That's right.
that may have been
Deferred.
postponed. Mr. Porch, Can you offer any insights into this for me, please?
Madam Mayor, through you, it's quite impossible for a subsequent report to be provided in the time frame. The area in question has been, as is indicated in the report from Hydrodynamica, is an area that they have conducted a stormwater catchment analysis of previously, which has been presented to council. The consultants have that information with them. The peer review from Hydrodynamica indicates that the range of measures used for the analysis of the hydraulics for the subdivision are in line with those that determined from that Hydrodynamica determined from their own catchment plan. They have a couple of questions, which is not unusual when you have two different hydrologists looking at a matter. From the engineering perspective and our concerns over flooding for the area, which was why the initial Hydrodynamica report was provided in the first instance, council had commenced a design for stormwater that would alleviate flooding that had been long-term flooding that had been experienced in the area. The developer came along while we were partway through that process, and we were able to feed our information to the developer to provide him with additional information on what we were looking to do to alleviate the flooding. I have every confidence that that information has been considered in the design of the stormwater that they have. We've worked closely with them, with our civil engineers, also to ensure that we get an outcome there that mitigates the flooding for those properties who are already experiencing it and will continue to experience it if no works are done there. So from the perspective of the engineering department, we're satisfied that the measure proposed, even requiring an additional report, which is not unusual, is satisfactory to eliminate the flooding that their properties they're experiencing and capture the water from the.
Just through the mayor. Yes, no. Mr. Porch addressed the problem of storm water, and a lot of representations refer to the storm water and the flooding, etc. And I thought more information might be beneficial for the councils to make an informed decision.
Councillor Gregson, we do have a motion for it to be approved under the conditions there. You did move a procedural motion, which I erred in not getting a second for. I'll be honest and say. So the process around getting to this point probably hasn't been technically correct, but I now need to know, do you want me to test it on the floor of the chamber to get a seconder for your procedural motion? Okay, is there a seconder for the procedural motion?
It's not looking good, are they?
Procedural motion is lost for the want of a second.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we return to the original motion. Are there any other questions or comments in relation to the matter? Councillor Churchill?
Thank you, Mayor. As we all know who've sat in the room with me before, I'm always concerned about flood issues, and we recognise that this is a flood-prone area. And I guess none of us really know what the ARI and the AEP, which I think are basically the same thing, are going to look like in the future, really, for any one area of land. But I've got to say that I don't think I've seen too many SAs that have been conditioned to the level of this one, and I actually thought that it was a very good report that was put to us with 34 very definite conditions on it, and it was pointed out to us that there would be a general improvement in the in the flow of water and the flood effects that were potentially there already, and that this might actually be an opportunity for council to improve things for the other closely associated areas that have been previously developed around there. And the other thing I guess I thought really is this development is quite consistent with the other parts of around there that are already developed. So I have no issues with this at all. In fact, I would have to say, if anything, I'm really complimentary of those reports. Yeah.
Thank you, councillor Churchill. I appreciate the comments, and I'm sure the staff do too. Thank you. Any other quick comments, councillor Walker?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have some concerns, and it's not with flooding water, but it's with water. Sorry to be banging on about it again, but I just feel that Taswater's 3-line comments is not good enough in regards to that. They keep saying that they've got a matrix that will, that we can do that, but we've got some 63 lots, some 33 lots have been approved, and now and some 63 lots yet to come to us. And here we have 18 residential lots again, with no improvement on the water infrastructure and or sewerage infrastructure in Orford. So that's all. I'm just flagging what I normally bang on about.
Councillor Edwards, could I just ask a question of Mr. Porch that follows on from Councillor Walker's question? Mr. Porch, Councillor Walker has referred to a 3-line comment from Taswater. Is that all we get, or do we get a proper report, if you like, from Taswater?
Madam Mayor, I'll defer to
Mr. Bonner. Sorry, thank you, Mr. Bonner. Thank you.
Mayor, through you, all we tend to get is a 3-line response. So it's a bit more than that.
Yes.
In their recommendations that they provide.
Yes.
But we're not privy to their background calculations of how they've determined it.
No, I was just interested in what level of detail we get from Taswater, following on from Councillor Walker's question. Councillor Edwards.
I will just point out to Councillor Walker that Taswater have just spent about 8 million, wasn't it, on sewage infrastructure in Orford. They've just spent an awful lot of money, and as sad as it is, and Councillor Walker and my hobby horse, water, as we all know, we can't vote against it on water. Otherwise it'll cost us a fortune down the line.
Yes. Yeah, no, thank you.
That's just it's just how it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm fully aware of it, but
I know, I'm with you.
It's just one of those things that I continue to bring up. Hopefully Taswater's listening.
Rightfully so, I think, Councillor Walker.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Councillor
Can
Gregson?
I speak on this current motion? Then,
Yes.
please? Thank you. With regard to the 4 lots that do not have 12-metre frontage, if that's approved and the next development comes within the area and that's accepted, that'll be a precedent for the next ones to have less than 12-metre frontage. Is that a really good thing to happen, that we're constantly reducing the frontage meterage and then setting a precedent for the next?
Councillor Gregson, as I understand it, there is really no precedent in planning. It's based on what the zoning is in a particular area.
Yes.
Is that an accurate statement, Mr. Bonner?
Pretty much, Mayor. I would consider it on a case-by-case basis. The 12 metres is an acceptable solution, as we know. We have, with the way the document is written, it's a performance-based document, so we have an acceptable solution, and I explain to people that's the easy way. And then your performance criteria, which is slightly harder way that you've got to demonstrate. The performance criteria allows a smaller frontage than 12 metres, with the absolute minimum of being 3.6 metres, which allows for a vehicle to enter and exit the property safely. None of these ones that are below 12 metres have a 3.6 metre entrance. It's always much wider. So I'm confident that it's capable of providing a suitable frontage for a residential property, each lot, even though it is below the 12 metres.
I'd just like to concur with through the mayor, there's a couple of churches that the documentation is quite prolific really and quite substantial, so congratulations to the developer on that as well.
Thank you. Deputy, do you wish to close debate?
Yeah, good to do that. I just wanted to note that the representatives had some good valid questions that they've organised in a coordinated way, and I thought the responses from the planning department were equally as good and made sense of those representations. This seems like a sensible subdivision in this space, and I think it's going to benefit the people around it with the improvements in stormwater retention and removal. So, yeah, for me, it's a tick, and I'll be supporting it.
Thank you. On that basis, I will put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Port, would you be kind enough to tell Councillor McQueenie to return, please? Councillor McQueenie, thank you. Council has debated the agenda item 4.1 and it has been carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Under Regulation 29 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulation 2025, Chairperson Hidar declares the Council is no longer acting as a planning authority under the provisions of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 for Section 4 of the agenda. The recommendation is on page 33. Councillor Walker.
Thank you. I move that council no longer acts as a planning authority at 229.
Seconder. Councillor Gregson, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 5 is financial reports. There is a recommendation on page 35. Councillor Churchill, thank you.
I move that council receives and notes the financial reports as attached to this report for the period ending August 2025.
Is there a seconder? Councillor McQueenie. Councillor Churchill, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Just there's one smallish error in the P&L, I think. It's in the trading income. It says interest and investment revenue, $85,449, and the year-to-date budget was $173,697. If we go to the notes, it says that it is higher than expected interest on investments. The figure is in fact lower. That's all.
Councillor Churchill, could we note your comment and have Mr. Tory take it on notice?
Thank you.
Is he happy for that?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other
That
questions?
was all I have.
Nothing else? Councillor Walker?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On page 237 of attachments, and that is the profit and loss. Just double checking before I make it. So profit and loss, it says in on 4 permanent fire station contribution to council worth 330k not budgeted. Can I have an explanation on that?
CEO or Mr. Porch?
Yes, certainly through Madam Mayor. Yeah, you may recall the Orford Fire Station is no longer used. That we were going through a process that took a while to have that property given back to council. So this is a book entry associated with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments in relation to finances? Nothing further. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Councillor Edwards, are you for?
Okay, that's all.
In favour, thank you. Motion's carried unanimously. Agenda item 6 is the section 24 committees. I note there are nil reports for that. The agenda item 7 is the information report. 7.1, the Director Works Infrastructure, Mr. Peter Porch. There is a recommendation on page 42. Councillor McQueenie.
I move that council notes the information.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Walker, thank you. Any questions or comments on councillor Walker?
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I do note that this is actually Mr Porter's last report to us.
Yes.
And on that, saying that, I'd like to wish him and his family well in their endeavour. But you can't go without an explanation on a couple of things. So page 39, under buildings and marine infrastructure, units, replace 2 failing hot water systems, units 6 and 7, all rights reviewed in 1 unit. Would that be the elder care units, Mr Port?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, those are the LQ units. that are
Yeah.
mentioned there.
Thank you. And also just noting too, the high spike on the same page, on 39, on customer requests. I note that that's over the Christmas holiday period. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's probably pretty right, looking at where it appears there without counting down the months. But yeah, it does appear to be. The interesting thing is, and it looks like January. Yep. Interesting thing is that it's the received is high, the completed are high, and the external are high. So not so much on the internal, but still receiving and completing quite a few for that period.
And also wanted to note too that thank you very much for cleaning out the gutters down Riverside.
Councillor Gregson.
Thank you. I'd like to refer to page 38, and it's got the contract arborist tree trimming in high-risk locations, parks and public spaces across the municipality. 1, Jubilee Park, Swansea tree inspections and trimming, removal of dangerous tree. Now, I had a look at that dangerous tree, and it's just gone through there to Mr Porch. That dangerous tree seems to be still standing with a few limbs lost. Is that the so-called removal?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, that is a removal. We talked about it, discussed it, I think at the last council meeting or the one before, where we indicated we'd give consideration to simply removing the limbs that were likely to fall and leaving the trunk. It does appear that there's something living in the trunk at the top there, and so it was deemed to be safe enough to remove the trees, to remove the limbs and leave the trunk and its resident.
Good. And just to follow up on a number of things, page 39, you've got concrete ramp, Swansea Football Club has been renewed to make it safer. And it follows on Form 46 building inspections commenced. Is that pursuant to the Swansea Football Club, or is that overall, please? And what does it refer to?
Through you, Madam Mayor, so there are essential building inspections that need to be carried out on a regular basis, and these are for all of council buildings, and those inspections have commenced as an annual process.
And the next one is page 40, and it shows that the loo with the view has been installed. And I think I've mentioned it too, Mr Porch, that the forecourt with the wooden forecourt in front of the loo with the view, it's in bad repair. Is that going to be subject to renewal?
Councillor Gregson, could I ask you to turn this way, please, because I'm having great difficulty hearing you when you're addressing Mr. Porch, and it's likely that it's affecting the live streaming too, I would think. So your question was in relation to the loo with the view and the
planting in front of it, and it's in bad disrepair, and I was just wondering whether that has been contracted out for renewal, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we had identified that is indeed due for some work. You'll find that there is a line item in the capital program for the renewal of that, which includes also renewal works to the stone wall along there. So that will be, once that work has been carried out, it will improve the look of that, no doubt, and the safety.
And just last couple of questions. In page 42, it's got PO. What's PO issued with the principal supplier?
Through you, Madam Mayor, and you'll see that preceding that I have the words purchase order, and then in Brackets at number 2, PO, indicating that wherever PO is, gets purchased for.
Well, again, and the last question is, on the same page, page 42, Orford Winter Challenge complete. I don't think the Orford Winter Challenge applied to the council for any funding, is that correct?
So through you, Madam Mayor, they may not have applied for any funding, I don't think they did, but there are works associated with it, with cleaning up and tidying and just making sure the area is appropriate for it, that need to be carried out anyway.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McQueen.
Excuse me, through you, Mayor, to I think Mr. Porch. In the recent budget discussions and decisions, Ryan's Road was intended to be something to occur this year, I think around feasibility study. Has that commenced at all?
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, the works there are design, so we need to do some design there before we go with a view to programming works there next financial year. But as yet, no, the design has not commenced.
Okay, and my other question relates to, and given that I take it 4.1's passed, there's currently along Rebben Road, again to yourself, currently along Rebben Road, the development between the Bowls Club and Integrity Way, that block, and then the block further on, like I understand the development will have a footpath as part of the process on Rebben Road. Is council intending to fill in, if you like, the gaps on what's a major road which doesn't have footpaths on either side and a lot of child traffic?
Is that noted in here or an extra question?
No, that's the next question.
It's an extra question.
Yeah.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we have the footpath infill project, and it did strike me as being an opportunity lost with the Integrity Way development, that there was no provision for footpath when that one went. Otherwise, you would have had a contiguous footpath through there. But we have the footpath infill program where we look at and identify those areas where a small expenditure on a section of footpath will give us that continuous and ongoing footpath for residents. So yes, that will be considered in future.
So I'd just make the point that if that bit can be infilled, it would mean from essentially the bridge that every West and East Shelley resident can have footpath access, which doesn't exist at the moment, like continuous footpath access into those suburbs with a little bit of work.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Nothing further. Mr. Porch, I'd just like to reiterate Councillor Walker's comments to you. I'm just going to scoot back a little bit so I can see you. Yes, on behalf of Council, I'd like to thank you very much for the reports that you've provided to us over the time you've been here, almost 5 years. And thank you very much for the service that you've given this council and our community. It's very much appreciated, and as a council and as a community, we wish you well for the future in any new role that comes your way. So thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I may, just to say that it's been a pleasure to serve this community and this council. So thank you for the opportunity I've had.
Thank you very much. I think we'll move on. Agenda item 7.2 is the CERTA strategic plan. There is a recommendation on page 43. Councillor Walker?
No.
Oh, no, sorry, I didn't put the motion. Thank you, I'll put the motion. Thank you. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Councillor Walker's very good at picking out like that. We will move on now to 7.2, the CERTA strategic plan agenda. There is a recommendation on page 43. Councillor McQueen?
I move that council receive and note the report.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Walker. Just comment, Councillor McQueen?
I'll say for close.
Okay.
Mayor, thanks.
Any questions or comments? Just noting that this council is a member of the South East Regional Development Association, and they have just gone through a fairly stringent strategic plan process, and there's ongoing work to be done on it. So, Councillor McQueen?
If no one else.
It doesn't look like it.
Yeah. First of all, it was really pleasing to get a copy of this and also to look at a bit of the data that was provided in the workshop. I did notice that the data included Hobart and Southeast. That was hard to actually interpret what was there, but the data itself and the categories were great. I suppose I have two questions. I know we're just noting.
Yes.
But the process, so if you think about our region, including Tasman and ourselves particularly within the 4 councils, where tourism is the biggest industry, but it's probably not the biggest for Clarence and Sorell. But tourism brings people through those areas. So I understand that the process is that projects or strategic priorities have to include all 4, but I'm not quite sure, and I think maybe a workshop might be helpful to understand how that decision making takes place so that it's thought of a bit laterally about how we generate the area. And the other thing I just wanted to know, I couldn't find, so it may have been an oversight, the process for identifying those key projects. It wasn't detailed, I don't think, in the plan.
Mr. Porch will remind me because he was actually at the strategic. The projects were identified through a question and answer period within that strategic planning workshop, Mr. Porch, as I recall.
Chairman, Mayor, the projects have yet to be identified, and if I understand Councillor McQueen's question, the question relates to what will that process be for identification of them. Discussion around that within the workshop and the subsequent meeting reviewing it focused on the purpose, the vision and the objectives as being those core elements that would help to direct projects that will be considered by the group. I think beyond that I probably can't speak too much to process.
Councillor McQueen, I think it's important to note too that this is a process that CERT is going through since the support. It's the Greater Hobart legislation. There was Greater Hobart legislation put in place where the 4 major councils are part of a legislative process in a CERTA type arrangement, I think. And as a result of that, the Southern Tasmanian Council's Authority, you will recall that we agreed to resign from the Southern Tasmanian Council's Authority. So that CERTA's view is that we need to become a stronger voice for the Southeast.
Yeah.
And Clarence is still involved in it because they actually have, I think, out to the airport, maybe. I think their boundary runs out to the airport in Richmond, which is very much a strategic part of the Southeast region. So working through from here, Southeast Regional Development will be identifying projects and that we can talk on a regional basis, which is what you've identified.
Yeah, and it may be worth just noting too that when we did the analysis of the State Grants Commission work,
Yes.
That 3 of those 4 councils get a less per capita allocation. So there's some activity potential advocacy there. And the other thing I was going to say about the, and also when we visited the Department of Infrastructure, Regional Cities and whoever, they referred us to go talk to Regional Development Authority who are on this committee. So
at this point, no, there's a new constitution. Well, I say at this point, yes, but there is a new constitution being developed for the Southeast Regional Development Association for CERTA.
Okay, so I just noticed that there was an
there is
pending, and then so that linkage I think is probably
so that will be taken into consideration when we work through the process of a new constitution, I suspect.
Thank you.
All right, nothing further. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Unanimously. Agenda item 7.3 is the code of conduct investigation outcome. There is a recommendation on page 44. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move that council receive and note the report.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Gregson. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Councillor Edwards is against. The motion is carried. Officers' reports requiring a decision is agenda item 8. 8.1 is the sale of 50 Beatty Avenue land and the Lions Park Playground upgrade. There is a recommendation, I believe, on page 50.
Through there, have we missed one?
What have I missed? What have I missed, councillor?
Strategic plan reference?
Pardon?
Strategic plan reference?
No,
I think that's SERDA. I think that's SERDA,
Oh,
the one we
Sarah, was
just
it?
dealt
Oh,
with.
Thank
okay,
you.
sorry. Yeah,
Councillor
my
Gregson.
mistake, thank you.
actually.
I'm working from the agenda here, councillor Gregson, so you worried me a little bit when you said I'd missed one.
That's fine, thank you.
Agenda item 8.1 is the sale of 50 Beatty Avenue and the Lions Park. There is a recommendation on page 50. Deputy Mayor?
I'll move that Council 1 resolve under section 178 of the Local Government Act 1993, the Act, to form an intention to dispose, exchange or lease of public land being 50 Beatty Avenue, Bishono, title reference 62307/50, the land. 2, proceeds with the playground construction. Proceeds with the playground construction for the Lions Park, funding the budget shortfall from the land asset sales and public open space finance reserves.
The seconder, councillor Edwards. Wish to speak to the motion, councillor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, look, this has been a long time in the making. It's a piece of land that has been on the council books for a long time that really is of no use as public open space. It does affect some of the residents, or potentially does, that have boundaries on that property, but it is just a piece of land that will be built on over time, and I don't think it will adversely affect anyone in the area.
Councillor Churchill?
Yeah, I've got a few questions around this one, mainly because it has been going on for so long, and I'm concerned about the reasons why it hasn't been actually put up for sale and sold in the past. And I guess what is, I've put a fair bit of thought into it, I think, but all I've done is finish up with a lot of questions and no answers for myself. I know it's zoned general residential, but was this space that we're trying to sell, was it ever or is it now actually designated public open space? That's the question that I have.
Councillor Churchill, I don't know the answer to that, so I'm going to have to, with Mr Tory's permission, defer to either Mr Bonner or Mr Mr Porch.
Bonner, I think.
So,
Mr. Bonner.
Mr Bonner, are you?
Yes, through you, Mayor, I'm just doing a quick search on this map just to confirm. The property is identified as being public land. It's not operational land like a normal residential lot, which is why in 2023 we went through the process of advertising the sale of the land and doing a report to council. So under the Local Government Act, this particular process council needs to go through to sell community land. And it does have a different designation on, so it is identified as a local government, a public open space, which is why we needed to go through that process.
We need to go through section 178, Mr Bonner, is what you're saying?
That's correct.
Sure. Councillor Churchill, any further question?
Yeah, I've got a few further questions,
Yeah.
if that's all right.
5
So
minutes.
that process hasn't happened yet, is that correct?
Mr Bonner?
To you, Mayor, that process occurred in 2023 and there was a report to council. Council, and it's in the attachments to the current meeting. So council at that time resolved of its intention to advertise the land, to go through the process. I'll read it out. Resolved under section 178 of the Local Government Act to form an intention to dispose, exchange or lease the land, authorise the General Manager to take all actions necessary to complete public notification of council's intent in accordance with section 178, and authorise the general manager to consider acknowledging any objection and report back to a future council meeting. Looking from what I could find out, while the matter was reported to a workshop in 2024, it never made it back to a council meeting for, I don't know the reason why, but it didn't. And hence why we presented it today.
Yes, so just to clarify that, it is no longer public open space, is that correct?
It's currently identified as being a public reserve, yes.
So it's, is there a difference between public reserve and public open space?
A public open space really would refer more to the zone. Well, this is identified as being a public reserve under from what I can gather, under the Local Government Act, which is why we needed to follow the section 178 process.
Right, so we still don't have it in a position where we could actually hand this to an agent tomorrow to sell it, is that correct? Until this further process is completed?
A little bit outside of my area of expertise, but I think we would need to get it redesignated to allow, I'll just check the zone. It is zoned general residential. It is more the classification or the characterisation of it that would need to change, not the zone. So the zone's fine.
Yeah, okay. That's sort of answered that part of the question. Just a further question, if I may. I'm interested, I guess, in some of these representations, and one of them in particular is the Simon Simmons Wolfhagen report, being a legal firm. I guess I would have liked to have seen the whole of that representation in the reports. All I saw was a summary. Is that all there was in that?
Mr. Connor?
I think it was Mr.
Mr.
Porch's.
Mr. Porch, is that you?
Certainly I'll put the report up, Madam Mayor. I don't recall what that situation was. My understanding was that we had been through the process that was necessary, and it was just up to council then to make a decision on whether it wants to sell the land or not. I understood that the only restriction associated with the sale of the land was how the money could be used, and that it needed to be put in a public open space were that the case.
Thank you. Councillor Churchill?
Yeah, I guess what I'm really saying is I need to be sure of this, because I don't want to see this sitting around for another decade, because it was originally given to us from the Crown, I think, in 2010 is what I'm reading in the report. How that happened is not really clear, and it's probably not clear to, I'm not trying to put the pressure on Mr. Porch, especially on his last meeting, but I think it needs to be clearer in my mind why we're actually selling this piece of land. And I mean, it makes sense to me because I can see lots of reasons to sell it. I just can't work out why it's trickled down for 15 years effectively, because it was put up originally for sale in 2014. And then we moved it again in 2023 to have the same thing done. I don't know if there was anything else in that interval between 2014 and 2023 either, but I'd just like some clarity around that. And I guess I'd like to know what was the detail of what was in those representations. So to my mind, I haven't enough information in front of me to satisfy me that we can just go ahead and say, yes, we want to sell it right now. I want to see it in a state where we know where we're going and what that land actually represents. And what if there's a, I don't know whether being public land is a covenant on it effectively, so that do we have the right to sell it, or do we have this process to go through first so that we can get it there? So I would have difficulty supporting the current motion. Thank you.
Any other questions for councillor Gregson?
Just by way, through the mayor, I'd just like to ask Mr. Bonner, just by the past dialogue here, it's general residential, and is there a problem with the classification at the moment, please? How will that be ameliorated? It can be solved.
Mayor,
Yes.
that is something I would have to take on notice. I was not involved in the previous reports, and I would need to investigate that further.
But we're so we're expected to make a decision today, but we don't have all the information. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, councillor Gregson, I just don't, I can't answer that.
Again, and it says here this has to be a resolution of council to sell, lease, donate, exchange, or otherwise dispose of public land to be passed by an absolute majority. Does that absolute majority, is that 5 of 8 or a total majority 8 of 8?
Absolute majority is 5.
5, okay. And total majority 8 of 8. Good, thank you. And the last question is timing of sale would likely not be effective before costs are incurred, and it is proposed to use the reserves in the short term and replenish them from the sale proceeds. So we're going to have a bit of delay there of expenditure and then fill the funds in after. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
It just says on page 49, timing of the sale will likely not be effective before the costs are incurred, and it is proposed to use the reserves in the short term and replenish them for sale proceeds, from the sale proceeds. So we've got the costs being incurred, and this, when it's sold, they will be replenished. And I was just wondering what the timeline would approximately be.
The time frame
Yeah.
depends who wants to buy the land as quickly as.
Yeah. So, and does anyone know what the estimated value of 50 Beatty Street is at the present stage, or not, please?
I'm sorry.
There's no estimated value of the property at the moment being proposed for sale.
Councillor Edwards, then Deputy Mayor Simons. Councillor Edwards.
Through you, Madam Mayor, surely this motion says form an intention to dispose. If we come up with some legal issues, can we just not give our officers the credibility to be able to deal with them? Councillor Churchill said it's been on the cards for many years. Well, this is why, because the decision is never made. Let's leave it to our officers, come up with a plan forward. I'm sure they will alert us to any problems that may occur in the future and get on with it. We've got the youngest population in the municipality in Bicheno. I think the average age there is about 34 or 38 or something. Young kids everywhere. And let's delay a bit longer and fart around for another period of time before we ever get the park fixed.
I think the thing that's also instrumental in this is the fact that we have been talking about the Lions Park now for a number of years.
Forever.
There has been community input to that. If the sale of disposal of this land will facilitate that, then I can't see any reason why we wouldn't go under the process of. I mean, there is quite a strict process under Section 178 of the Local Government Act for the sale or disposal of land. So why not go through the process? Councillor Churchill, did you want something?
Well, I did. I've spoken enough.
I know, but I'm happy to let you have another comment if you wish.
Yeah, I think also under that 178, there is a provision under 178A, which is pointed out in the reports,
Yes.
for appeal. Now, it could be that people will appeal it. We need to know under what, and that's why I'm really interested to see the Simmons-Wolfhagen report, because it will be a legal document, and perhaps we have seen it in the past. I'm not saying I haven't, but I was unable to find it apart from that summary in the reports. And look, I've got no objection to the money being spent when we get it on the children's playground. I think that's a no-brainer, and it is in the report that it will be. We can fund the children's playground with the reserves that we have now to be reimbursed from the sale of this. I understand all that, it all makes sense. But I still think that there's a process here that has obviously been failing for a long time that we need to make sure is correct before we move forward.
So, taking account of what you raised in relation to public land and the question mark as to whether it is actually defined as public, in your mind, that it is actually defined as public land. There is a process under the Act called, which is 177, which is the sale and disposal of land. So, you know, it says council may sell any land at auction, you know, or if it's not necessarily public land, so defined as public land. So I think all the officers, in my head at least all the officers will need to do is determine whether it's being sold under 177 or under 178. Deputy Mayor, would you like to close debate on this? Unless Councillor Walker, you haven't spoken,
No.
do you wish to?
No.
No. Deputy Mayor, close debate?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just reiterate Councillor Edwards' words there before. This motion is about to form an intent to dispose of the land. I think this is the first step in the process. We're authorising the General Manager to take the necessary actions to undertake this, and I no doubt at that point in time we'll find out where the pitfalls are in doing this, and I think this is the initial first step, so I'm quite happy to support this, and we'll go down the road a bit further and find out. I think Councillor Churchill's concerns about why it's taken so long. I think one of the reasons it's taken so long is the boundary, the owners on the boundary of this property have always put up a strong defence as to not sell it because they use it as their piece of land, and they don't want to see it obviously taken away, and I can understand that totally, that's quite valid. But this is a case of a greater good cause here where the majority of the kids in Bicheno will benefit from this piece of land being sold, so I'm happy to support it.
Deputy Mayor Simons, I did ask you to close debate, but it has just occurred to me I may not have offered Councillor McQueenie the opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit outside of process.
Yeah.
Councillor McQueenie, your comments?
Which was just one really, that from what I understand now, we're saying the intent equals the first step. If in the process there's some issue, as you seek to clarify some of these things, that we brought back to council. That's the first step. Is that right?
Just a step. Yeah.
Right.
So on the basis, I will put the motion. All those in favour, those against. Councillor Churchill is against. The motion is carried. Agenda item 8.2 is the draft cyber security policy. There is a recommendation on page 53. Deputy Mayor, thank you.
I'll move the council adopts the cyber security policy as attached to this report item effective 23 September 2025.
Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Walker, thank you. Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, Councillor McLean?
Yeah, I have some concerns about this policy as it currently stands. I completely think we need a cybersecurity policy. I completely understand that there's a model, a policy that we are adopting in this, but we are one of the very few councils that manages health information, and reference to the relevant legislation like the Personal Information Protection Act 2004 and its obligations aren't in here, nor can I see the concept of breach management. So in the world of health information, if there have been found to be breaches, there's levels of responsibilities about when, for instance, patients are advised of the breaches. There's levels of reporting, be it even up to the Office of the Information Commissioner, Australian Information Commissioner, and notification obligations around that. So I'm not saying it needs to include all that. And also it seems to be focused on internal staff, not cyber security from external parties. I might have missed that, but the parties mentioned seem to be all internal. So I'm not quite sure the scope we imagine this is and has, whether we're doing it's for normal council business or how we are determining what we do around, whether it's audit logs or whatever, for our specific health information policy requirements. And they'll be complicated because council's both managed and run it and now has contracted somebody else to. And so it could be different pieces of legislation. So I don't feel comfortable that this is comprehensive enough for a council such as ours that has that unique responsibility, unless that there will be a policy that's a companion one to this that's very explicit about health stuff, because people are very concerned about their health information.
Councillor McQueenie, I take your point. I think from my perspective, it's important for us to put this in place with everything that's gone on in cyberspace in recent times, and not the least of which being the recent telecommunications outage in a couple of other states. Can I suggest policies can be reviewed at any time? Because they have a lifespan. We can review a policy at any time. So can I suggest that we do consider this and we accept this policy as it sits, and we have a review of it in 6 months' time, just to see how we're going and maybe add the bits that you've added? Because I think it's important to have this policy in place now, whether it's deficient or not.
Yeah, I mean, with a commitment that we'll do a review within that period, because we haven't actually got a policy in place that manages our issues.
No.
Without
Mr. Porch, would you like to add to that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, certainly through the workshop, Councillor McQueenie clearly articulated that concern
Yes.
relating to it. As we considered the structure of the policy, acknowledging that there are a range of records that we hold and our information systems hold those. We took the view that the policy is encompassing of all of those things and is not specifically providing information about the way that those individual types of records, whether they be for work health and safety or whether they be for medical or other things, are detailed. We do indicate the related policies and legislation, which includes personal and private information policy, where that greater level of detail should be stored. So a first cut policy that is high level, that seeks to umbrella all of those concerns without providing the detail that will be in a procedural.
Thank you, Mr. Porch. Councillor Gregson.
It's my understanding that the Walton Spring Bay Council don't have a cyber policy, and
That's why we're doing this one today.
yes, and this aligns with the recommendations identified by the Tasmanian Audit Office. It's quite a cogent policy indeed for this municipality at the present time, but I take into account Councillor McQueenie's concern for health information and Mr. Porch's clarification there. But I'd really like to be reviewed in about 6 months to see how it's going, please.
So, there's no reason why we can't do that, is there? Taking on board, I think from my perspective, it's, and this is just my personal view, is that it's important for us to put this in place now, and because this will help us with all councillors receive notifications from Beyond IT from time to time about our cyber policy, cyber security, and how we should go about looking after the data that we have. So I think this just helps in that space. I would just take on board Councillor McQueenie's. Better to have this policy in place than no policy at all. And then Mr. Tory will take on board the comments that I've made, and maybe we can review it in 6 months as you identified, Councillor McQueenie. Would you be happy with that?
Well, I probably won't be supporting this now because I appreciate the comments about personal information policy, but we haven't named any of the acts.
We haven't what?
We haven't even named the legislation that relates to health information in here. Personal Information Protection Act of 2004 for Tasmania, and there's national ones. I appreciate we do stuff with Beyond IT, but what are our arrangements with people who currently hold health information? And if there is a cyber issue around our contractor who holds health information on our behalf and we're custodians for, the risk level, if something goes wrong there, is generally cataclysmic. So I get why there's a want to do something, but I'm not comfortable
Okay.
with those basics not included, but I respect the decision of the chamber.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments in relation to it, councillor Churchill?
Yeah, just by way of a comment, I can actually see what councillor McQueen is getting at here. We are still held responsible ultimately for those health records. Now we've talked about 6 months, perhaps we need action on this a fair bit faster than that. And that might be something that, I don't even know where we sit in terms of insurance on something like this, but perhaps we need to be informed of that. And,
Within 6 months, councillor?
well, perhaps sooner is what I'm saying. And to me, this is a decision to be made. It's not something that should necessarily take a long time frame to do, to get something like this included in policy and look behind what's required. Now, I may be wrong. I'm quite open to our officers to tell me if it is going to take 6 months, but I would have thought something like this could be very urgent for us. That's my concern.
CEO?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm concerned about the fact that we're going to have 3 new directors coming into the place over the next couple of months. We're still recruiting for Director of Infrastructure and Works. I don't think 6 months will be unreasonable. It will be very difficult to do it shorter than that. But I don't disagree with your thoughts about the urgency.
Can I just add, I don't know the courses that have been sent through in relation to ransomware and data loss and video conferencing and phishing and working remotely and all sorts of other things. I think there's been about 15 come from Beyond IT. In terms of cyber security, I've found those. They're only 5-minute things, but they have been very worthwhile in my view. There's been some things that I thought, oh, I think I knew that, but it's been confirmed in these courses that have been coming through from Beyond IT. So in terms of our cyber security, I would really encourage councillors to undertake those. They take, as I say, 5 minutes to do. You get a little certificate at the end, and they, as I said, very worthwhile. Now, anybody comment? Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I'd just like to agree that we do need to get some clarity around holding of medical records. That shouldn't be too hard to do externally. I would think there'd be people out there that have done this 1,000 times. Anyone that's got health records would have a fairly good understanding of what we need in the policy for that. So I think it should happen fairly immediately. And I don't see why it couldn't be a separate standalone policy for that matter. So as it does sit beside this as a separate policy, and I think we should do that sooner than later.
Thank you, CEO. You happy with that?
Yeah.
Right, on that basis, I will put the motion. All those in favour that we adopt the cyber secure policy as attached to this report today. All those in favour? Those against? Councillor McQueen is against. The motion is carried. Thank you. Agenda item 8.3 is the Swansea Makers Market. I know Councillor Gregson has declared a perceived conflict in this and will leave the chamber. Thank you, Councillor Gregson. There is a recommendation on page 57. Councillor Churchill.
I move that council approve the application for community small grant funding of $1,000 to Swansea Makers Market for event advertising and hire a band.
Seconded, Councillor Walker. Councillor Churchill, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Another good event being held in Swansea, and I'd like the opportunity for council to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments in relation to it? Councillor McQueen.
I couldn't be more that it's a great event, and I would encourage all towns that have a Christmas event to approach us for funding its time.
Deputy Mayor, wish to comment?
No.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ford. Councillor Gregson, council has unanimously approved the funding for the Swansea Makers Market.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 9 is councillors' motions without with notice. I note there are none. There are no petitions at agenda item 10. Agenda item 11.1 is councillors' question time. No questions. 11.2
I
is
have a question.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just lost a bit there. I'm just wondering, could I,
could you speak up for me,
Right,
please,
yes,
councillor Gregson?
just through the mayor, I'd like to ask a question whether the council would be supportive of a workshop on Float to Survive. And
On
that's
what?
on Float to Survive.
Right.
It's conducted by Shane Gould and sometimes her husband. And I went to that Float to Survive at Bicheno, and I thought that it would be a wonderful program, and especially coming up to summer, and to make people aware that you don't swim against rips or anything like that. You go with them, and if Shane, she's quite agreeable to present a workshop to council with regard to this Float to Survive program that she does support. So I'd like to put that to council, whether they'd like to support that or not. And number 2, the Sherman Road at here Absbourne. I'd like to direct my question to Mr. Porch, who's been his last time here. There was an inquiry with regard to the public validity of the road, and we got back to the person concerned and said it was a public road to the Watson's grave site, but you were unsure from henceforth went on. Did you get a reply with regard from the Watson's grave whether that was a public road and to where?
Through you, Madam Mayor, inquiries to date are inconclusive, but inquiries are continuing.
Thank you. And you don't have an estimate when you would have an answer?
Unlikely within the next week and a half.
Right. And right, that's fine. And okay, and oh, that's fine. That's fine. That was my main question. I've got a few statements here, but that's my major question. Thank you.
Thank you. No other questions? We'll move on. Agenda item 11.2 is comments and statements by councillor.
Thank you. I have a short statement to make, which will only be a number of minutes, that I'd like to be included in the record. In the last few months, various community members have asked me to explain the code of conduct process to them, given various statements that have been made across the community recently. Of course, it's completely understandable that the code, of conduct, which I'll just call code now, process isn't well understood outside of those directly involved in local government. Luckily for us, though, in terms of providing quick summaries, the process is actually very structured. It involves a specific number of steps and some specific requirements, which are detailed in the Local Government Act. First to the steps, before the requirements. A code of conduct complaint must be lodged with the council's general manager, or as we've been talking, CEO. The CEO has to ensure that the complaint meets document requirements ahead of passing it on to the Office of Local Government, which is, of course, in Hobart. The Office of Local Government then appoints an independent lawyer to do an initial assessment against a set of legislative requirements. The independent assessor can decide to dismiss some or all of a complaint at this stage in the assessment. If the independent assessor believes the code should be fully investigated, a panel of 3 people is set up to do the full investigation. That independent panel is made up of people with legal and local government expertise, and that panel can't include the person who's done the initial legal assessment. The panel then considers the evidence, may ask questions of the parties to the complaint and any witnesses to any hearing it may choose to hold, and all parties are required to give evidence under oath. The panel then determines if any breaches of conduct have occurred, and if so, what sanctions it will issue. The panel can choose various sanctions depending upon the nature of the complaint, including no action, a caution, a reprimand, training, or ultimately a suspension of a period of time. The panel's report summarises the panel's process, findings and sanctions. Those are the core steps. So now to the quickly to the requirements. The code of conduct complaint will only be accepted and proceed to full investigation on the basis of these requirements, which are all in the Act. Those requirements are, scrolling. The person lodging the complaint must have already made efforts to resolve the matter within council itself ahead of lodging a complaint. The complaint must relate specifically to a breach or breaches of the Code of Conduct that applies to all Tasmanian councillors' actions. To proceed, the complaint must be assessed as not being trivial. To proceed, the complaint must be assessed as being in the public interest. The nature and seriousness of the alleged complaint to which the alleged conduct, to which the complaint relates, must be considered. The complaint must also have been assessed as not being vexatious or frivolous, that is, not being of a personal nature, but rather about the specific requirements against the code. With the nature and requirements of the process I've just outlined, I think it's fair to say that they are not entered into lightly. And if things like matters can't be resolved within council where it's been attempted, it can be the only available step to consider to ensure governance standards for community. Our council is in a financially stable position, and we have a dedicated staff, and it's also pleasing that we're now welcoming our new and very experienced CEO. In terms of the recent Code of Conduct outcomes in council, I hope that those outcomes will lead to more considered decision making for our community. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gregson.
I'd like to, as previously acknowledged, I'd just like to acknowledge Mr. Peter Porch, our Works Director here, who is leaving for his last OCM, and I'd really like to display my appreciation for his support whilst I've been on council. So thank you, Mr. Porch. And also, we're particularly pleased with the St Margaret's Court at Swansea, the completion of the cul-de-sac, which has been going on for about 20 years, and that's finally been resolved. And that was initiated and up and running by Mr. Porch as well. So thank you for that. And also, I'd like to acknowledge the Mental Health Week that's coming up. I think it's between the 3rd to approximately the 12th of October of this year, which includes in the Swansea Town Hall, the Comedy Roadshow, which is on Friday, the 11th or something of October. So I encourage people to go along to that, and the details will be on a website or the Great Extra Bay newsletter. They can consult different activities, and basically centred on Swansea during that period. So that's all I've got to say on that thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Statements. I have two that I would like to make. Firstly, I'd like to offer congratulations to the Orford Golf Club ladies team of Fiona, Penny, Pauline and our very own Councillor Jenny Walker for their win in the Barclay Shield Ladies Golf Tournament yesterday. I'm not familiar with the history of the Barclay Shield, but I do know that it is a much sought after trophy by ladies golf teams. And so well done to this amazing team of lady golfers for bringing this prestigious win to the Orford Golf Club. And I'd like to read a post from Felix Ellis, the Minister for Police and Emergency Services, that appeared on his Facebook page. Some true Tasmanian heroes who stepped up to save a mate's life. The rare and prestigious Commissioner's Medal for Distinguished Service has been awarded to retired Senior Sergeant Bill Grierson, Tom Lyne, Cranbrook Fire Brigade, Gary Stoward from Swansea Fire Brigade, Ricky Fulton, Swansea Fire Brigade, and Kelvin Jones, the Swansea Fire Brigade. Their swift and sure efforts in September 2023 saved the life of the then Brigade Chief, Robert Elliott, who had suffered a cardiac arrest while responding to a fire near Swansea. It is worthy recognition for some very special Tasmanians. I understand that the Commissioner's Medal for Distinguished Service is only awarded in exceptional services, and I believe there's only been 3 previously. So I would like to congratulate the recipients, and on behalf of Council and the community, thank them for their commitment and service to our area.
Yeah.
Thank you. And might I just add, I found out about this award on the Minister's Facebook page. I wasn't given any other notification about it. In accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Meeting Procedure Regulation 2025, as Mayor, I declare the meeting closed to the public in order to discuss the following matters. Item 1.1, request for leave of absence. Item 1.2, notification of leave of absence for parental leave. Item 2.1, minutes of the closed session of the ordinary council meeting held on the 26th of August 2025. There is a recommendation on page 61, Deputy Mayor.
I'll move that council moves into closed session at 3:28.
Seconded, councillor McQueenie. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Ms Clarkson, you might confirm when the recording's been terminated, please.
Yeah, that's.
We'll just go straight.
Yeah.